안녕하세요. 제 이름은 Ashley입니다. Hi, my name's Ashley and I'm a fellow New Zealand VIP. And I'm in Korea! Yay! Since I'm here, Edmund and I decided it would be really cool to do some vlogs for you. I've been here just over 3 weeks now and I have so much to share with you guys. By the way, these vlogs will be from a New Zealand point of view, so when I compare and contrast or when I discuss anything, it will be from my New Zealand background. I grew up in New Zealand. I was born and raised in South Auckland for 14 years, and then after that I've been living in Hamilton. So I'm pretty much as Kiwi as it gets. I've also travelled north, south, east, west of New Zealand. This particular vlog will be about my first impressions of South Korea. Unfortunately, any content I have for you guys is going to be low quality at this point because when I first came here I was using a really bad camera phone. But I think you'll be happy to know that since then I've upgraded, so in any later vlogs it will be nice quality. Just in the meantime, please bear with us. So anyway, the trip over here was a total of 27 hours. That's including me leaving Hamilton and arriving in my hotel in South Korea. Actually, when I first got here I was so exhausted that all I could think about was sleep. So initially I couldn't really take a lot in. I kind of felt numb. So when I got off the plane in Incheon, which is far west Seoul, I had to take a bus travelling through Seoul and then into the countryside through the Gangwon-do province and to my city Hongcheon. Hongcheon only has a population of 50,000, so as far as cities and towns go in South Korea, it's considered a pretty small town. From my point of view, it's probably a large town, but I agree that it's not a city. So one of the first impressions that I got from arriving in South Korea is that the people that I personally met were really friendly to me, and even if their English was practically non-existent, they would still try and talk to me. For example, I had to get into a taxi at one point for a 40-minute ride, and the taxi driver was speaking to me in a mixture of Korean and English, trying to ask me questions, know where I was from, what am I doing here. Generally, yeah, that's happened to me a number of times now. My first bus ride and my taxi ride, driving through the countryside in Gangwon-do province was really stunning. So Korea is a mountainous country. It's covered in mountains. So you're driving through and all you can just see are mountains, and they're covered with trees of like nice rich green with some reds and pinks thrown in. And the bus itself was, I gotta say, better than an intercity or naked bus. Another first impression I had, and this isn't exactly negative, but it's just something that I observed, something different from New Zealand, was that the towns, particularly in the countrysides, were dirty. And what I mean by this in really general terms is that there were random piles of rubbish everywhere. By rubbish I don't mean like empty packets of stuff, like litter, I mean industrial rubbish. You'll see stuff like piles of clay tiles, wood, wire, stuff like that, just kind of scattered about, no seeming purpose. It kind of looked as though the shop owners and homeowners didn't really know what to do with them or where to put them, so they kind of just chucked them in their backyard or on the side of the road. What I also mean by dirty is that the streets and the buildings have a lot of dust and dirt on them. The streets and the pathways are removed of litter, but they don't get a brushing down, and neither do the buildings. In New Zealand, in Auckland City at least, I know that maybe about 4 o'clock in the morning they'll have machines come along the streets and along the pavements to swipe away any dust and any rubbish so that it gives it a nice clean look. In some parts of Seoul, and like I mentioned in towns, it doesn't look like they do that. I do realise that in New Zealand we do have some towns that are like that as well. But in general terms, I didn't realise how clean New Zealand was until I came here. Yeah, I realised coming here is that New Zealand's sky is really clear. When I first got here, the first 2 weeks, I thought that the country suffered from like 24/7 fog and that the sky was always overcast. But then I clicked and I realised it's actually the pollution as well as the cold weather. So at night you definitely can't see the stars or anything like that. The first 2 weeks I was actually worried that I wasn't going to see any blue sky, and then one day it was a really nice hot day and I went outside and it was perfectly blue, like you would see in New Zealand. It did look, however, as though a thin layer of grey kind of dulled the blue, but it was still gorgeous. What I found really cool coming here was the apartment buildings. So when I first saw some, like, my jaw hit the floor. So they're over 20 stories high and they're all tightly packed in together, like building right next to building. So when I first saw it, it was kind of scary and daunting to see. And I think the reason why it's scary is because they're not always in cities. Sometimes they will be in small towns, and so you'll have like this plateau of one-story buildings. Jutting out of it, you'll have these massive infrastructures all kind of crammed together in one block. And you just don't see that anywhere in New Zealand. In New Zealand, we have cities and towns that are surrounded by all kinds of different landscapes. So it might be rolling green hills, it might be mountains, it could be forests. In some cases it could even be deserts. But in Korea, from what I've seen, every city and town is surrounded by mountains. It's almost as though they've found whatever flat land they could and built on it. So wherever you are, if you're in a city or if you're in a town, all you have to do is look up and there's a mountain there. Another interesting thing is that in towns and in cities there's trees, but they seem to be small and they seem to be on their lonesome. Because of this, I haven't really heard any bird song. Usually in New Zealand I would wake up to the sounds of birds outside my windows, but I haven't experienced that yet in Korea. I've only seen 2 insects since I've been to Korea. The first was ants on a pavement, and they were massive. I'm talking like this big and black. Actually, they terrified me when I first saw it. And the second was this scary thing. I still have no idea what this thing is because I've never seen it before. I've also seen a random butterfly just fluttering by. And another thing, and I've also seen a random cat. I've seen several dogs. Most of the time it's people out walking there. Even within the large cities they will do this. But usually you don't see them outside in people's backyards. The Koreans will buy small dogs that they can keep inside their homes. And if I have seen a dog outside, it's usually boxed in a small enclosure and chained up. Majority of people in Korea live in apartments, and I'm talking maybe 80%. That's just off the top of my head. But for people who do have homes, they don't really have backyards. And if they have a backyard, it's very small and generally it's actually covered in rubbish. If it's not covered in rubbish, it means there's a patch of grass there and they cultivate it. It doesn't matter how small this patch of grass is, I'm talking maybe 10 square feet, they will cultivate it, they will plant vegetables there. So far in this vlog, I've mostly talked about what I've actually visually seen of Korea. The landscape, the buildings, just the little things that I've noticed. In the later vlogs, there's a lot more that I want to discuss with you guys. Like food, traffic, people, shopping, tourist destinations, my lifestyle, what it's like to be an English teacher, heaps. Later on, I really want to do some VIP stuff with you guys as well, and talking about the K-pop culture here. If you have any questions at all, please ask us. You can do so in the comment section below. And if you have any requests, please tell us. This vlog is for you guys. If there's anything you want to know, we'll be happy to tell you. So that's this vlog for now. Thank you for watching. And if you want to see more vlogs like this, please subscribe. 멀어져가 남자는 노래 부르지만 눈물이